How I handled my daughter's mother. I have been married for 17 years, since I was 21 years old. We have 2 children together, a 10-year-old daughter and a 5-year-old daughter. It had been a good relationship on the whole, as we have had some of the problems that many married couples have, but nothing dramatic, such as adultery, etc. But there is the catch. In the spring of 2018, my wife was on a work trip to another part of the country for a week for a conference. Standard stuff, as this has happened many times before. When she returned, she seemed rather unlike herself, but I didn't put much thought into it at the time as we are both busy. The bomb was dropped on July 4th. Her phone went off when she was in the shower. It was a text message that said, "What color underwear are you wearing today?" When she got out, I asked her what the hell that was all about. Initially, she told me it was a joke a friend was playing on her. Since I'm not 3 years old, I asked her to try again. That is when she told me that she had slept with a co-worker on the trip, and that they had had sex one other time the week after she returned. Happy 4th, everyone. She told me that she was sorry and that she wanted to keep it a secret forever, but that the guilt was too much for her to take, especially after seeing me take the girls out for a day on the town the day before. What does that even mean exactly? Who knows? Rather odd, considering I actually had to confront her to get the information. So in hindsight, I think this is where I really kind of messed up, as I pretty much forgave her and didn't do very much other than try to move on. She has been more affectionate, and I have kept track of her communications and travels and don't have a reason to think things have continued. Boy Toy is located in another office some 250 miles away, so the day-to-day thing would have been difficult to continue. Anyway, for some reason around the holidays beginning, I just started to find myself actually getting just angry about everything. I probably haven't been the perfect husband or anything, but I didn't deserve to have any of this happen. I've never even looked at another girl since I met my wife. Don't I feel like an idiot now? Every year we have tended to visit her parents about 5 hours away for Christmas. About a week ago, I just honestly felt dead inside to going and told her I wasn't coming along this year. The girls wanted to see their grandparents, so I was okay with that, as I trust my wife as a mother, not that much as a woman anymore. She was all upset and telling me that I hadn't forgiven her after all. Well, no crap, Sherlock. I honestly don't like her parents that much, and the thought of having to fake it just isn't something I can do at this point. I made a mistake not kicking her out of the house this summer. I think I was just numb and couldn't understand what had happened before. But now that I do understand, I think I'd actually like to file for divorce now. Am I nuts? How all over the board is this? Thing is, I really dread having her come back tomorrow. I can't wait to see my girls again, but dealing with this is painful. I certainly don't want to give the impression that I don't want to save my family. But honestly, I don't think I'm the one that put us in jeopardy to begin with. I am angry, very angry. Not physical violence angry, but angry that what had been a very good marriage has been torn in half by her wanting to have sex with another man. She has told me that she loves me very much, but it was like a drug having this guy pay attention to her. Hell, it probably was like a drug. I probably would have felt the same way about a woman younger than me paying attention and sexing me up as well. The difference is that I didn't entertain the notion. She did. She has apologized. Probably for getting caught, but she did apologize. I guess sometimes that doesn't even happen, so perhaps I have that going for me. This thing just kind of happened to me over the last month or two where I just have fallen out of love with her. Maybe it's a coping mechanism. If it was just the two of us, I wouldn't have any issue with filing for divorce tomorrow. But with our daughters involved, that really hurts me to think of not being a daily influence in their lives. Perhaps I have to just do the best I can over the next few years until they turn 18. Comments. Your girls don't deserve to bear witness to a crappy marriage and you giving them an example of how unhappy their father in an unhealthy relationship. It sounds like the both of you swept this under the carpet and now here it is months later you are now coming to term with her adultery. You have meant to own that she has been more affectionate, but the anger is still brewing cause she hasn't given the submission you need. Maybe you feel like she hasn't. Affair proofed her marriage and it's a matter of time before she does it again. What are some of the consequences she isn't facing other than you not spending Xmas with her? Maybe it's this anger you have in that she hasn't faced any consequences. Is she still working at the same job, taking the same amount of business trips and still in contact with this coworker? I would be pissed too if my old lady didn't make the changes she needed and face the consequences. I mean, what's more affection got to do with it? I guess in my case I was still getting laid even when she was sleeping around, so to me that's no big favor. It's the GNO that stopped and giving up her toxic friends that meant a lot for me. And if it was a coworker on a business trip, well, my chick would be giving that up to if she wanted to stick around. In short, I think you're still pissed cause your chick is still doing the same just more lovey-dovey towards you. If the catalyst was a business trip and a co-work, well, those are big triggers and a hard pill to swallow if she is in fact continuing as Business as usual. OP, you are likely feeling this way because shock has worn off and she is pretending not much happened. Believe me, it wasn't twice, and it would be going on to this very day if you hadn't intercepted the text on the 4th. You can truly recover your marriage if you insist she pulls her weight in the recovery. Here are some questions that can help you determine what heavy lifting will be required from her end. Did you find out if OM is married? Is he in a supervisory, executive position? Was he exposed by your wife at work? Was she? Did she confess to her parents? Yours? Did her co-workers know, condone, support her affair? Did she write a no-contact message to him? Read and approve by you? These are some of the actions, not words, that she should have shown to demonstrate the basic parts of remorse. Anything else is a few, glad he got over it, and will only ensure the demise of the marriage. OP responds, to be honest, I don't know if there is NC. I assumed there is because of there being nothing on her phone. But that probably is just me being wishful, isn't it? I wonder if it's unlikely that they quit cold turkey. I think I'm going to demand access to her email for starters. We'll have to have a long talk about her job as well. As odd as this may sound, I'm going to need the details of their times together as well. I wonder how blatant they were with those around them when they were out of town. I wonder how much of an idiot I look like to her co-workers. She says that he pursued her and that she fell for the attention. But I wonder how true that is. Did she give him signals? When did the line start getting crossed? Did she know that when she was giving it up to him that she was also ripping my heart out? It probably didn't matter, I assume. Who have I been married to? The family returned yesterday, and I was so happy to see the girls again. Christmas was very difficult without them. My wife and I only spoke briefly during the day as I told her that I didn't want to really talk about it until we had time to sit down and actually talk. I took the girls out shopping and spent the day with them. Last night I sat the wife down and told her that I needed to know everything. She hesitated a bit, but I said that if we weren't to get divorced in 2013 she had to lay it on the line right now. Oddly enough, 2 times was actually over a year. 10 times total. I had her write out the dates for me. The OM is located 250 miles away, but is in town about once a month. I asked her why she was willing to be an escort to a guy 4 hours away once a month when she had a husband at home. Didn't get a straight answer to that, not that I was expecting one. I told her I needed her to write down her passwords for her email accounts, work and home. She said that was an invasion of her privacy. I mentioned that in order for the marriage to work her privacy was secondary. She was angry at that point and said that I didn't even want to try to work things out and that I was punishing her. Reading this forum the last few days I sort of anticipated this happening. I'm not particularly bright obviously, but I am perceptive. So I had already booked a hotel room nearby, about 6 blocks away, and told her she was going to have to stay there for a while to think about if she was serious about saving our marriage. She was really upset and was yelling at me about kicking her out onto the street, and that I didn't love her. I told her that it's only because I love her that I'm doing this. If I didn't, I would just file tomorrow. So she has until Sunday morning to let me know if she will be giving me the passwords and full name of her lover and his marital status. She will also have to write a NC letter that is emailed in front of me. Any other additional measures I need to have done at the time will be taken then as well. If her answer is no, then we can start the divorce process next week as the new year starts. I love her, but I won't live like this. It's me or it's him, and if it's me, she has to prove it. If it's him, I will immediately go into protective mode to legally obtain custody of my children. This probably comes off as orderly as I've written it, but honestly I've had about 10 panic attacks today and felt like calling about 20 times telling her to come home. I'm not that strong at all, but I think I bluffed it well. My head is spinning, but I'm thinking I'm doing the best I can considering the situation. Thanks for all of your helpful advice. I haven't told anyone about this except for my brother and parents. I have a feeling this will be known to many more people next week either way, and that makes me feel embarrassed and ill. But it's like the only way I can get this poison she injected into our lives out of the way is to finally face it. We have spoke a number of times over the past few days and had dinner Friday evening. She was apologetic and said that she would go into no contract with the OM and that she wanted her family back. She also wanted to MC and look into why she did the things she did. Friday night I saw her send a NC letter via email to her boyfriend. I let her come back home Saturday, and we were going to make a MC appointment at the beginning of the year. She agreed to let me know her passwords and that she wanted a new start and for us to know everything about each other. Yesterday evening we were watching a movie upstairs in our bedroom and the girls were downstairs. After about an hour her phone rings and she starts talking, then goes into the bathroom to talk. It was a lot of yes, no, we'll see, not now, etc. Obviously my red light goes on. She comes out and I ask her who the hell that was. She then told me that she had called him earlier in the day because she wanted to see if we was okay. He was just calling her back and they were ending it formally with no hard feelings. I told her that I think she's actually given him a lot of hard feelings. She looked hurt that I dared make a joke about her wounded friendship. I asked her what part of no contact was hardest to understand. I told the girls that Dad had to leave for a while and I left for the night and stayed with my brother and crashed on his sofa. She called me about 30 times since I left, but I haven't talked to her at all. She came over this afternoon, but I told my brother to just get rid of her. He did. I will call home tonight to talk to my daughters and to let them know that Dad will be home soon, but not right now. Update. The long and short of it is that my STBXW told me after the holiday that she wanted to work on making our marriage stronger than ever, but that she didn't want to end contact with her boyfriend because she thought he was a good man who was a good friend for her. Also, that I shouldn't try to control her. I'm obviously summarizing the conversation, but that truly is the gist of it. The only thing I realized at this point is that I've made a monumental mistake in choosing life partners. So I've done the following. 1. Told her to move out. She is staying with a friend for the time being. Not for too long though because of item number 3. 2. I've put in motion filing for divorce. 3. I will be filing for full custody. Now this I had anticipated being a potentially major issue, as you can imagine. However, that had a quirky development. It appears that her special friend has made it possible for her to be transferred to the office he works in a number of miles away. She has accepted and stated to me that perhaps it's best if I have custody of our daughters for now while she finds herself. 4. I had told her employer of her extramarital romance with a boss in their company, but as I can see with her being moved to his office, this wasn't exactly an earth-shattering event for them. Well, she can certainly find herself elsewhere, because it won't be here. She also stated to me that she always thought she would be able to get back into my life when this fling was done because she thought I'd always be there for her. But I am too selfish to really show her that I care, and that I'll always be selfish. I could be wrong, of course, but I do think that perhaps getting nailed by a co-worker while wearing my wedding ring might put her higher on the selfish ratings chart than my not wanting to be BFFs with her right now. But maybe I'm just too cold to see how mean I am. Honestly, all of this really sucks. I feel rather dead inside right now. But the one thing I refuse to do anymore is be walked on. I'd rather be alone. It's also incredibly embarrassing to deal with the last 6 months. More so my reaction than even the being cheated on. Hi, I had my wife cheat on me and I really didn't do anything about it all summer except give her a boo-boo face and tell her she is mean. I can't imagine what I was thinking. I'm all over the place right now. I have to be a good father to my girls. That is number 1. But the rest, I'm just figuring it out. The workplace thing is a twofold issue for me right now. I think I probably did notify the wrong person at her workplace. I don't doubt that now. But, B, I really want to fast-track the divorce and think that perhaps it's better to let her run off with Romeo so I can get full custody and a better agreement. I don't pretend to know what the best thing to do is, but I am leaning towards going with option B as a means to getting the favorable terms to the divorce. To be clear, I don't have any interest in remaining in this marriage, so using some method to wake her up to come back to me isn't really something that I want. But I'm having some difficulty thinking fully clearly at this point and may be missing something here. 2 months update. It's been an interesting last couple of weeks. Personally, I could have done without any of this, of course. But there is a certain amount of black humor that tends to help me get through a lot of the insanity. The soon-to-be ex-wifester has been traveling back to our home on the weekends to spend time with our daughters. She stays in the guest bedroom and I have been taking the time to do other things like travel and go to the gym, etc. Around February 7th, I sent a certified letter to the office of the CEO of her company detailing the situation and all of the parties involved. Long story short, she and her super-duper lover are on a 6-week unpaid leave of absence now. My thought was that this whole thing blowing up at work would turn this situation into WW3. She was all weepy the evening of it all going down and accusing me of trying to ruin her life, etc. Then on February 23rd, she drove back for her normal visitation with our children. She asked me to stay and talk with her that evening. I declined and told her that we weren't going to get into it with our children present, and that we had nothing to say. I got back home around 11 p.m. For full disclosure, I've turned into a workout freak since all of this crap started and was actually at the gym until it closed. Didn't tell her that though. Every other weekend she already in the guest room, but that night she was still waiting up. She started the whole "I've made a big mistake" thing and was begging for a chance to come home. I asked her if Superman had dumped her, but she said that she had dumped him because she missed me and our family. Of course, it's a very difficult situation, and I feel torn at times as to what to do. For now, I told her she can live in the guest bedroom. She has signed up for counseling to figure out what is wrong with her. She also wants us to go to marital counseling. I have not answered and will not for the time being. My rules are as follows. 1. I'm still proceeding with divorce. 2. I'm not promising reconciliation. I'm promising to go to some sort of mediation with her to make the transition to co-parenting as smooth as possible. 3. She has to look for other housing by April. I won't have any restrictions on her spending time with our daughters, as she owes them her time after neglecting them for the past 3 months. But it won't be with her staying here beyond March 31st. The one thing I haven't said yet because it's just an internal thought is that if there ever is a reconciliation and remarriage, I will need a prenup to protect my rights as a father to my children. Honestly, if my daughters weren't involved, she wouldn't even be staying here. But I think it's important to have her back in their lives, and this is the best thing I could think of doing in the interim of her getting her own place. I have seen the letter of NC to her boy. This is take 2, of course, so you'll have to excuse me for not being all weepy with joy about it. I have her passwords, but haven't looked at anything yet. It's all nice and the like, but I feel checked out of the marriage and frankly not all that into fixing it and playing detective. For today I just assume it's a game and don't get my hopes all up. So my update is one of mass confusion. One thing that bothers me still is how I basically didn't do anything for the first 6 months after the initial D-Day. I tried to nice my way out of this horror show and that did absolutely nothing other than make me feel like I was worth $1. I do value a lot of what I read from fellow posters on here. I honestly wouldn't have gone out of my way to expose if I hadn't read it over and over on here. My honest feeling was why bother? But I figured there must be a reason people keep saying it and it started to make sense. I'm honestly kind of shocked it worked as quickly as it did. I'm kind of resentful that it took me doing that to get her to actually pay attention to me and what she was doing. I don't really care too much right now about being with her. But I am going to have to work through that resentment for my children's sake. I don't think it would be good for them to see me snarky towards their mother. It's difficult to describe the anger I feel towards her. No, it's not the type of anger that would make me ever get physical. Even in the blind rage of finding out she was cheating on me, I didn't come close to doing anything physical. However, the rage I'm describing is like this. She hugged me tonight for letting her stay at the house. Her touch made me feel nauseous. 1 week later, none of this is easy at all, but I do feel a small slice of peace or serenity since I have decided to go forward with the divorce. The decision has been made and there is no talking about it as far as I'm concerned, except if it's to go over terms. The future ex and I talk briefly in the early evenings. She makes dinner for the girls, for me too in theory, but I run to get something to eat on my own on the way home from work. In the later evenings I work the exercise bike in the basement once the girls are in bed, so we aren't bonding really. She'll ask to talk every so often, but I have been clear that the time to talk was in the past and not now. I'm not interested in dating at this time. I'd enjoy having a period of time with no woman in my life, to be honest. That isn't meant as a sexist dig that it sounds like, and I do find myself attracted to women all of the time. I just could use the mental break from being in a relationship. In 2019 I'm going to be 100% single. I think of my ex as being a good mother. She was certainly distracted for the last number of months, but even in that phase she was at least somewhat responsible about her duties as opposed to completely negligent. She doesn't deserve an award of valor for that, but I'm not going to punish my daughters by fighting to keep their mother out of their lives. Honestly, for all I know she could be getting mounted by some guy in the Dairy Queen parking lot every day. As far as I'm concerned, if that was indeed happening I would race over to the Dairy Queen and buy myself some ice cream and wave at her while I left. She's not mine anymore. OP's wife responds, kind of scared but wanted to just let everyone know where we are at right now. OP is my husband and we have been having trouble the past couple of months due to my cheating. He told me about this form yesterday and that it's been of help to him. I just asked him if he was seeing some therapy since he is so angry and he isn't, but at posting on this site. I read it and found his story. I've asked him if I could post on this site and he said do what you want. So I hope this will be okay. My husband has always been a good man and provider. I think someone along the line we both sort of got too comfortable. Where he would join clubs and activities I ended up wanting more attention. Eventually I found it elsewhere, which is totally my fault. The truth hurts, but it needs to be stated. In our 18 years together and 17 married I've had 2 affairs. He knows about this after we talked yesterday. One was a one-night deal 10 years ago when I was at a seminar. The other was with the guy who I was seeing when my husband broke up with me for my adultery. Why did it happen? I'm selfish. I liked having 2 men in my life. I enjoyed the attention. The guy was really happy to see me when we met at different places. I thought it was real and felt torn. Long story short, my husband notified our employer and we were both suspended for immoral conduct. I was so hurt when it was first done, then I realized that I brought it on myself. I was ashamed and found that I couldn't do what I was doing anymore with this other guy. I told him I was leaving and wanted my hubby back. He actually didn't seem to care that much, and once the job thing broke down he became really a different person. I knew it wasn't a real love on both of our ends at that point. I've been home a few weeks now, and I am finding a place nearby to be with my family as much as possible. My husband won't let me stay past this month, and I understand that. I don't deserve to be treated with warmth by him right now. I just hope he knows one day how much I'm sorry. I don't deserve anything from my hubby, but it really hurts to see that he seems to hate me right now. OP responds, when I was communicating with my future ex-wife during the week, she was mentioning being in counseling. Then she had asked me what kind of things I was doing to help with the depression and I've been feeling since everything broke apart last winter. Indeed, I did inform her that I was posting on this website and that I found it useful for me to be able to talk about things and get feedback. She asked if she could read my version of the story, and I told her that she could, and that she could post on here if she wanted to. Briefly, I do prefer that she has her own thread if she wants to go in that direction. I did think it was fair to her to be able to present things as they appear to her. I really don't think it's all that different than I have said they are. She agrees. I did not ask her to post here so that people can beat her up while I sit in the corner and giggle. I do think that in all honesty that would be a rather sick thing to do. If I was going to seriously contemplate a form of revenge, I would just get the hottest girl I could talk into dating me and romance her in front of my ex. In all probability, I will ask her to post a few more times on this thread to answer some of the questions she has been asked. Since I did say yes to allowing her to post on my thread, it's probably the right thing to do to not let her take criticism without a chance to respond directly. I really do think though that I will ask her to not be on this thread after this weekend though. I don't want to engage directly. I know she is looking for a chance to talk to me in any method available. But I don't feel like having her invade my space, if that makes sense. Wife responds, "It is true that there is something in me that allows this kind of behavior. I think I need to be honest to Malcolm in the hopes that I can not only salvage our marriage but myself in the process. I wonder if my compulsive behavior makes me a horrible wife. My husband has always been the one with common sense and the ability to get me to be realistic. I really need him right now, and he is the one person that gets me. I have a long history of being selfish, and I have gone too far more than ever this time. I have quit my job and will be taking a part-time job while I get my crap together. I will also sign divorce papers that are in his favor. I think the only way to get him back is to do this. I don't want him to see other women, but if he did, I would wait for him. He checked out this time. I love him. What did I do? Why? Why do I do this? Why did I assume it would be okay? What a selfish bee I am. I have been with OP since I was 22. He is the only man I have ever loved. Why didn't I treat him like that is the case?" OP responds, "I struggle with trying to be decent in all of this. She has the right to her opinion, and I'd like to see her get good advice and help. But honestly, not on my thread. So I have asked my ex to post in her own thread now. Maybe it's all a moot point, but I just want to have my own place here. Honestly, I think a lot of this is just her being afraid of being alone. Well, welcome to the last 9 months of my damn life. So I'll have to be excused if I'm not swooning right now. I just turned 39. She is 41. We've talked a lot the past couple of days. I think she has a problem. I'll help her as I can, as the mother of my children. But I have to be honest myself about something. I just don't feel like I love her anymore. Frankly, the bonds of marriage have been broken. If I were to risk getting hurt in a relationship again, I'd rather it be with someone I have no negative history with." 1 month later, wife updates. "Yes, I have moved to an apartment near our home. I have been home the last few nights. Hubby had a medical issue and was in the hospital shortly. His blood sugar spiked to 800, so that watched him for a while. I took him in around midnight. He will be okay, but I am a little shook up. I don't think he is taking care of his health with the stress I gave him as well as the job he has. I have insisted on staying with him until I know his numbers are under control." OP responds, "Feeling a bit better today. I'm a diabetic, and sometimes I don't handle my medication like I should. I forgot to take my insulin in the morning, and things got out of hand. I worked my normal schedule, and felt worse and worse. I tried to gut it out, and that was stupid. My WW was over with the kids when I got home. After an hour or so I asked her for help, because I almost felt drunk, even though I don't drink. She took me to the emergency room and they kept me for a few hours while my #S got back under control. She was crying and asking me why I allowed this to happen. It certainly wasn't my idea, but I take responsibility for being very dumb with my health. I'm still having some trouble keeping my levels at a decent level, as they seem to be either crashing or through the roof. I've asked her to stay in the guest room mainly because I want to make sure the girls are taken care of tonight. I'm still feeling a little under the weather. We have moved her into an apartment nearby and she was actually in there on March 28th. She has some things she needs to be able to work on to have a better future. We've talked about a lot of things the last few days while moving her out. I think she does love me, but as mentioned here previously, I think it is a fatherly love she feels for me. I'm honestly not sure she is capable of romantic love. Maybe she is, but I don't think she has felt that yet for anyone. I'm still thinking that divorce is the path that needs to be taken for our relationship. But I would prefer that we are able to co-parent together as well as we possibly can. And honestly, I would like to see her get the help she needs as a person. 1 month update. Wild and crazy month. Wife is living close to the house in an apartment. We see each other often and she is in our kids' life, of course. I was doing the back and forth thing. She feels comfortable, so I was considering allowing her back into my life. We did go out on a date mid-month or so. We ended up having sex for the first time in 6 to 7 months. Then I got a call from my mom some 20 days ago telling me she had to tell me something. My dad had a tumor found in his right lung and he would have to undergo a number of tests to see where things are at. It's been good and bad, nothing definitive, which may be a good sign in that it's not completely obviously cancer. And if it is cancer, it may be early stage. Nevertheless, it's been a serious jolt. My dad has been my best friend my whole life, and still is to this day. I'm not a psychologist, so I'm not 100% sure what has happened the last couple of weeks to me. But the status of my marriage has gone from a source of major thought and concern to very distant in my list of priorities. I apologize if that sounds very cold, but I'm just being honest. I don't know if it's good for me to be married to someone that was basically making me a cuckold without even my knowing it. The definition of what is healthy is probably beyond me at this point. But the one thing I do know that my 100% concentration is on my children and my parents right now. It would be different if I was with a woman who had valued me and was a loyal partner. But the reality is that wasn't the case. When I do have free time as such, I'm with my dad. If my marriage ends up not being recaptured due to this, then so be it. I feel like this is a defining moment in my life. And I'm choosing to concentrate on a man who has been loyal and giving to me his whole life. Whatever course this whole medical journey takes us. It's woken me up to value the time I have with him, hopefully another 10 to 20 years. But regardless, whatever time we do have I will value. Half a year later, I haven't been on here in quite a while. I hope everyone is doing well, or at least as well as is possible. My dad had major surgery to remove the tumor in his chest in the late part of May. The diagnosis turned out to be lymphoma as opposed to lung cancer, as they found the tumor on the outside of the lung as opposed to in the lung. Obviously any cancer diagnosis is scary, but this was significantly better news than I was expecting. It's a mild, or more accurately slow form of lymphoma, so the surgery actually seems to be the cure for the time being. There is no further trace of cancer at this time. Obviously there will be multiple reviews, tests down the line. Everything over the past 16 months just took a toll on me mentally. And I really don't have anything left to give to a marriage that unfortunately feels like it was a sham. I am certainly grateful for the children that we have, but in terms of the overall connection that I hoped we shared, I think of that as an illusion. At this point I prefer to start over and have filed officially for divorce. It seems, knock on wood, that it will be as easy as is possible and that she isn't fighting me and we have agreed to terms. We both agree that I'm the more suitable parent at this time, as she works on herself and the issues she has in her life. Obviously she will always be welcome to be a major factor in my daughter's lives. So the custody agreement we've reached is that I'm primary and she will have unlimited visitation. We will be selling our house and most of the assets will be split 60/40 in her favor. I've been fortunate enough that I've had a major promotion at my place of employment, and although money will always be an issue, it's not an emergency. So since she is being very generous, I'm not fighting for custody. I'm choosing not going to get into a fight over the money. Honestly, all I want is my freedom at this point. I love her, but I don't trust her at all, and even after a year of truly believing she isn't doing anything behind my back, I still am just too broken by her betrayal, to be able to trust her again. Of course at this point, she is free to date as many people as she wants. My only regard at this point is that they aren't introduced to my daughter's lives until she is serious about someone. But that is all just theory right now. Who knows how everything will play out. It's not how I anticipated my life would be entering my 40s. But life will toss you things that you don't expect, and the only thing I think we can do is to adjust as best as possible. If any of this sounds a little distant and clinical, it's only because I've had plenty of time to come to terms with things. It obviously isn't that easy to pull the plug on a relationship that is as long as the one we've had. It feels at times still completely raw and painful, but I find if I just keep moving and stay busy every day is a little less painful. Another half a year later, good evening to all. A week ago I became an officially divorced man. I'm not sure if that is fully tragic, or worthy of some sort of cake and celebration. I'm kind of numb to all of it at this point. The ex moved back home and I have full custody of my daughters. I was hopeful that there wouldn't be war for custody, as I would have fully fought if I had to. But she was surprisingly easy to work with in all of this. After reading the horror stories some couples breaking up have, I guess I feel very lucky. I'm not sure luck is the word though. I'm nudging into my 40s now and hadn't anticipated being a single father moving into a smaller home after having my wife betray me with other men. Not exactly how I wrote it up on my "What do I want out of life" memo I would have written at 18. But I suppose life tosses us curbs we have to navigate around, like it or not. I plan to start dating again, but I will admit to being rather overly cautious or even a tad jaded at this point. I wouldn't want to be unfair to any potential girlfriend in the future by being overly suspicious about everything she does, so perhaps I need a little more time. The ex admitted to being broken, and I try very hard to not pile on, considering all she has done to me. But I try to remain civil with her, as it is important that my girls have their mother in their lives at some point in the future, more than they have the last 2 years. I think it's probable I would have been much more willing to be a lot more vindictive if it wasn't for that factor. There is more than just me to consider in all of this. My ex no longer works for the same company and has been working recently in the same field, but for a different company. She is not seeing the OM as far as I can tell. But I am not 100% sure, as I've removed myself as much as one can while still having children with someone. That of course is much easier said than done. I know she is in counseling, and has mentioned thinking she is a sex addict. A lot of her activity stems from abuse she suffered when she was a child and young teen from a family member. This was unknown to me until recently. I do thank everyone for their suggestions and such. I was just joking about the taking the money for selling her painting to date someone. Despite all that has gone on, that would feel dirty. My problem is this. I still love her, but it's so flawed that I don't think I would be able to bring myself to ever forgive her. That's the problem that I deal with from now on, I guess. My comment, ultimately, the journey after leaving a cheating wife is about reclaiming one's happiness, rebuilding trust in oneself, and embracing the possibilities that lie ahead. It may be a challenging path, but with time, support, and self-care, it is possible to emerge stronger, wiser, and ready to embrace a new chapter in life. Sub and bell and prepare for the next relationship lesson.